Hello everyone. Today on the Ancient Gods, Gods of War. It begins. So with these ancient gods, the reason why we had gods of war is because fighting was hard. You know, you walk out with 20 guys and 5 would come back. By the way, they were also farmers, craftsmen, large politicians in the tribe, etc. So, ancient people decided we might want to start praying to somebody because we're losing like a lot of people here. That kind of hits the bottom line. So, what we started doing was we would, think of what would be the greatest fighter or warrior or whatever we could have, and we gave those characteristics to gods. A real notable one comes out of Greece is obviously Ares. A lot of his stuff, a lot of things that reference him and his Roman counterpart Mars, basically the same guy. Mild difference in histories. We still use those words. And they were known as the perfect hoplite, the perfect swordsman. They were absolute battle. And anything that comes up from them is instantly associated with the most great and wonderful weapon or killing machine we could possibly think of. So what were their main symbols? Well, obviously the sword, the spear, the shield, helmets, armor, blood, dogs that would, attack people and kill them, and so forth. Now that's Ares and Mars. Another really big god comes out of Egypt is Set, or Seth, or Setesh, depending on how you translate his cartouche. Whereas Horus was also a war god. Horus was more about strategic war. I just did a video on that. And Setesh is more about chaotic war, because Seth is also the god of chaos and violence and storms and foreigners and the desert. In fact, he was infertile because he was the god of the desert, where all of the bandits live. Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but bandits kind of warlike. Amazing, isn't it? So, other gods of war. There's quite a few. One of my favorites actually comes out of the Old Norse religion, and that is Tyr. He's one of my favorites. He was also god of justice, so he does have some similarities with Horus. But instead of losing an eye, he loses a hand. And I'll go into that story later when I talk about Fenrir. The Norse actually had quite a few war gods. Thor was a big one, but we'll talk about him when we talk about thunder gods. And, oh goodness, there was also Freya and Freyr. Talk about them when we talk about fertility. So you'll have to wait. Let's see here. What other war gods can I think of? Well, let's go back to Setesh here. One of the things you find really interesting with Setesh is, while the other Egyptian gods all had very obvious animals to compare to, Setesh didn't. It's just called the Seth animal, or the Set animal. It's kind of like an aardvark, but not really. It's kind of like a jackal, but not really. It's a really weird looking thing. So, when you see Setesh depicted, he's usually depicted either alongside Ra, who was, the Lord of Light, Lord of the Sun, King of the Gods, etc. He's helping Ra subdue Apep or Apophis, who was the serpent god of chaos. Interesting that the god of the desert and chaos would be drafted to defeat the Lord of Chaos himself. Talk about fighting fire with fire. And then you have, when he's depicted along Horus, he's always a bad guy. He is always the epitome of chaos, the epitome of tyranny, and horrific treatment of the people in the way you should. Yeah, you can win a war, but you can't manage the day-to-day of the country. And it falls into complete and total ruin as a result. Another really good God of War that I just remembered is Camulus. He is from the Celtic lands, specifically Great Britain and Ireland. He's interesting. One of the things that Camulus is able to do is he is able to spur people into action, specifically righteous action, in order to kill invaders or an enemy tribe that is, you know, kind of co-opting lands and all of that. And that was his big thing. So he was very, very into conquering. He was very into making stuff his, usually for the benefit of his people, whatever that benefit may be. So when the Romans invaded Great Britain, Camulus was called on quite a bit to help out. And we all know how that went, unless you were a Pict. So that's about all I've got for you as far as the Gods of War go. If you want to learn more, please feel free to look them up. Maybe visit your local library. If you want, I will do more videos on this, maybe go into a little bit more specifics. So feel free to hit that big red subscribe button and give us a like, maybe leave a comment. And I'll be back with something else. Until then, enjoy.